Troy, are we ready? Yeah, I'm hot.
Good evening and welcome to the March 23rd Budget and Finance Committee meeting of the whole. We'll get started here. Turn it over to Mr. Caleb Barwin.
Thanks, Mr. Alosi. So the agenda tonight, going to review fund balance in the Act 1 index again, and then look through some revenues and expenditures for 26-27. Revisit the personnel list from last budget and finance meeting, and then hit on some of the tax scenarios for next year as well. Then we'll go through a little timeline as we're inching closer to April and the proposed budget. So just a refresher slide, the general fund balance that we've seen in the past. Again, the top line of the general fund balance, that's the balance as of June 30th, 2024. As you go across, you have the unassigned, the non-spendable, assigned, and committed columns, and their balances associated with that. And then on the left-hand side, you have all of what their the categories that they're either unassigned to, assigned, or they're committed to. And towards the bottom there, you have the balance as of June 30th, the audited balance as of June 30th, 2025. We go all the way to the right, we have a balance as of June 30th, 2025 of $16.7 million, and that's a $442,000 decrease from where we were as of June 30th, 2024. No one spent too, yep, we can go on. I think we've hit that slide a couple times, so. Act 1 index, again, just a refresher slide. The maximum amount we can increase, the board can increase the taxes to is the 4.7%. I have Shippensburg highlighted there along with the other Cumberland and Franklin County school districts. Again, we can't go above that 4.7% increase because we passed that resolution for the Ready to Learn adequacy money. So we have to stay within that 4.7% increase. Next slide. So hitting on some revenue here, I have it broken out. So these are kind of some major categories on the left-hand side. This has your local, your state, and your federal. And it gives you some history of actual numbers dating back to the year 2020, 2021. And then the years after there follow to the right, all the way to budget for the current year. So that's 25, 26. I did add some year-to-date numbers where we stand on revenue. That's only through December there for this year. And then I put some numbers for next year's budget. This does not have any tax increase with these numbers. It just has like assessed, like assumed growth value for the tax side. If we dig into these numbers a little bit deeper, I broke them out on the next slides locally. And I'll hit on the chart first before I go over the next slide. On the top right there, the chart, you can see the local dollars make up about 58% of the budget there for revenues, almost 44 million. State comes in at 40%, a little over 30 million, and then the federal dollars there make up about 1 or 2% of our budget.
Are those pie slices about the same as they were last year?
Correct, yeah.
The state might have gone up a little bit.
I think it was at 38, 39, yep.
A question about 25, 26. There was a dip from the previous year of
Where are you looking at there?
from 2025 to 2026 with the budget, and then never mind. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, I added the year-to-date numbers there.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry if that
threw me off.
confused. Sorry. Okay, next slide, dig a little bit deeper into the local dollars there. So this is just looking at your local revenue, getting a little bit deeper into it. Again, it has your descriptions on the left side there, and then your budget numbers for this year, where we stand year to date through December. And then the last column there has the numbers for 26-27 budget. And again, this is what a 0% tax increase would look like. So your current real estate taxes, that growth again is just from assumed assumed growth, which is the assessed values going up, which causes us to gain more real estate tax revenue year over year.
And that does not include continued economic development or industry?
That's what that is. It's like assessed. Now, it doesn't include like if we would have like a warehouse come on or anything like that, but we get the assessed values from the tax bureau, like Cumberland County and Franklin County, and we update those monthly. And the assessed values have been growing substantially over the past few years here in Shippensburg.
So continued new construction of businesses and industry.
Yep, some of that, and then and some houses and things like that go into effect there.
What's the regular day school tuition?
That is a program. I'll have to dig into that a little bit deeper. It's that might be tuition that we charge to other districts. Let me look into that, Dr. Lyman.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to stump you.
That's okay.
Um,
Sometimes the
My
names
assumption-
change on things.
My assumption was that it's tuition that students pay who are not in our district, who come to our district.
Nah,
Is
I don't think
not
it's
it?
that. No.
Okay.
It's right around a number that would be a consortium student.
Yeah. Yep.
Someone that we house in a program.
Oh, okay.
Don't quote me on that. I will defer to Mr. Barwin, but it's
I'll
right
follow up
around that
on that.
number.
And then the other thing I wanted to highlight on this slide, our EIT, our earned income tax, that's been growing. Again, with the growth that you have in the district from companies and just houses and everything else, the earned income tax has gone up too. So I bumped that up to 7.1 million next year. And then also, if we take a look at interest earnings, that's your 6510 on the left-hand side. I bumped that down a little bit because of the Fed's dropping the rates. Now, it's not like a fast drop right now, but it's dropped. I think it was up near where we were last year, around 4.5%. It's gone down to about 3.2. So I just a little bit of caution on interest. I mean, we've been doing really well the past couple of years because the rates have been so high. Like, that's been gaining us close to $1 million, if not more. But as those rates continue to peak down, we'll be getting back to COVID levels, probably or pre-COVID levels, sorry, of interest rates eventually, I would say.
What falls in that miscellaneous revenue bucket?
Just about anything else that is not listed above, I would say. There's, like, if we would take something to like if maintenance takes something to the recycle yard, like if they have scrap or metal, get money back for that. There's restitution that goes in there, so if we get money back from the district courts or anything like that,
Gotcha.
it gets bumped into there.
Donation money go in that at all?
Donations have their own kind of balance sheet line items because those roll over year to year usually. They stay with the donation accounts that they're assigned to. Because when we get money for donations, usually they're assigned to be used for a certain resource or anything like that. So,
So like the Hurley auction money.
yep, that would be in there. Yep, yes.
Sorry, one more. What's LST?
That's local sales tax,
sales tax,
local service
okay.
tax. Yep.
That's at $10 tax.
Yes.
Gotta pay to work.
And then if we go to the next slide there, the state revenues. State revenues, so whatever was the actual number last year that we received, I added that into this upcoming year's budget. So I didn't add any new money from the governor's budget that he's proposing this upcoming year. I did put in if we go down towards the end there, the adequacy money I have highlighted. So that's your ready-to-learn adequacy money where they came through with a little over $1.2 million again for or this budget cycle. So the current year we're living in, they added in another $1.2 million. I could see that happening again. It's mostly coming from the state being, sued by local school districts for being underfunded. And that's where that money is kind of coming from, them state saying that, we're catching up on underfunding school districts. So talking with other school business managers in the area, they foresee that coming on again next year. Again, I'm going to wait to see what PASBO has to say this upcoming week, and then probably in April here to see if there's any more news out of the state on that side of the money.
So just to be clear, like 1.2 2 years ago,
Yep.
1.2 this year.
Correct.
So that total number, that's what we're budgeting, that we're going to keep getting what we
Right.
are currently getting. But there is some hope that there might be additional adequacy money added to the budget. We're just currently not showing that.
Correct. Yep. And same with basic ed and special ed. Again, those increases that the governor is proposing for next year are very minimal again. But there's always hope that comes through. I mean, it could be an additional $300,000 to $400,000 in those two buckets combined. And then when you're looking at the bottom there, the Social Security retirement numbers, those are also bumped up. Those usually follow your salary numbers. So as salaries rise year over year, a portion of that is given back to us in subsidy from the state. So that's why you see increases there too.
So would you say you budgeted conservatively, basically no new monies from the state?
Correct.
And
Yes.
minimally, some
Correct.
just very reliable growth items for
Right.
both the local and the state.
Right.
Okay.
Unless I hear otherwise from the state or the board, I think that's best practice, especially going through last year's budget with the governor. We had no idea. And then December rolls around and it's here's this money, here's this money. So it's very hard. It's very unpredictable on what the state will and won't give. So I think the conservative approach is best.
What is the difference between the SD transportation and the NP transportation?
That's the school district transportation and non-public
Gotcha.
transportation.
I figured that's what it was.
And then like the Plan Con, a lot of that was a practice that the state did away with, I think about 10 years ago. So that was with any new construction, you could apply for this Plan Con money, and the state would usually subsidize a portion of your new construction that you're doing at your district. Of course, they did away with that 10 years ago. So, but we're still collecting on some of those bonds that we had years back. So that will fall off eventually in the future.
So then that 4,448 is interest on that.
So that's just when we pay the bond each year. It depends on timing. So usually we pay one in the fall, and then we have a few in the spring that we make our payments on. Once you make the payment, you can then apply back or apply to the state for that reimbursement of Plan Con back. So usually the ones in the spring are where we get the money back, and these numbers are only showing through December, but we applied for that in early February, March timeframe. Okay, next slide. Switching gears to the expense side. Again, just wanted to provide some topics. These topics are a lot of the same that we've been dealing with in the past. Personnel needs with the increasing enrollment, contractual increases, which, salaries and benefits we know make up about 67% of the budget. Medical insurance, another projected medical insurance increase of 10%. So we're going on, this will end up being, this year, I think a total, the past 3 years will be 36% increase in medical insurance over the past 3 years. Cyber charter enrollment and non-public tuition costs, those are also driving up our budget, especially the special ed, like our placement costs for tuition. And along with that comes a cost with the transportation for those placement students, because we have to either do a van, sometimes they're a singular van that drives those kiddos to their placements. So that drives up that area as well. And then another thing to consider for this budget that I also put in is the future debt borrowing that has been being discussed. For it to not all be encompassed in one budget, if we're going to go for a $20+ million borrowing in the near future, it's probably best to spread that increase over the next few years. So any money that we can add into that line item now would be best. And then also the maintenance budget hasn't been increased in a few years, and there's a lot of repairs, as we know, with our facilities and buildings. I think Tim's been doing a great job working with what has in his budget, but he's quickly, depleted that with all the repairs and maintenance work he's done at the buildings. So giving more money within that maintenance budget for him and his guys to complete the necessary repairs, I think is
And getting out in front of it to help protect the longevity of systems.
right. Not just waiting until something breaks, but. Next slide, we can dig into some numbers here. So on the left side, we have our objects and the descriptions that go along with those. Again, just like the revenue side, I provided detail back past couple years. And then it has your budget for this current year, and then year to date where we stand as of through February. Excuse me. And then some budget numbers on the right-hand side. And I have the pie chart again on the top right. You can see their wages and benefits make up 67% of the budget. Operational expenses are about 28%. And then the debt service transfers are sitting at 6%. Now, this is just budget numbers. It's not based on actual, because as we know, our debt service payment is a lot lower than what we actually budget for. So I would point to, our wages and benefits are definitely our highest cost in the budget, but if we look down something that is a stressor or, something that's increasing year over year is that 500 line object. Again, what we talked about in the past here with the cyber charter tuition enrollment and tuition costs, the special ed placements, and the transportation that goes along with that. We can see that those have been increasing, even back to 21, 22. It's close to doubling since then. So we need to exercise, I think, some caution when it comes to that. I mean, it's hard to control those types of costs when you're mandated to pay for cyber charter tuition and special ed placements. So that's something we definitely need to continue to monitor with the increases that we're seeing there. As we dip down to the bottom, the 900 level, I did add in, as we're talking about future debt borrowing, I added in $200,000 to start trying to break up that increase that we're going to see possibly in a few years, to where our debt payments could grow. So I think $200,000 is adequate for year one to bump that line item up. Again, so that's a total for next year's budget of about $80.2 million. This does include the personnel list and everything else that we've been discussing on the last page, the medical insurance increase. Any questions on this slide at all?
Yeah, Mr. Barwin. The expenditures of 80 million versus the revenues of 75 million.
Yes.
What are we going to have to tighten up on to figure that out?
Well, if the state does not make any decisions or come through with any new revenue, again, it falls on the local, the tax base. So that local, the revenue side, that has a 0% tax increase. So that's one way to get
Okay.
revenues to try and I'll get to this a little bit later, Kirk, too. I have a slide that kind of details out how to trim down that.
If you're going to talk
Yep.
about that later, just go ahead, keep going.
Next slide. Debt service. So this is the debt service chart of what we're paying for in 26, 27. Our bonds listed on the left-hand side and what we're going to pay in principal and interest, and then the total payment. Again, you can see I added $200,000 to the budget for next year for $3.8 million. So remember, we have that flat debt service line where, we've been paying, our actual payments are only 2.8 million, but we've been budgeting that 3.6, now 3.8 million in the budget. So there's a buffer there right now, but if we do make a borrowing of, 20 plus million, that will quickly go above the 3.8 million very fast.
And we are looking to potentially do a borrow this year, correct? For the
Possibly in the fall, yes. Depends on, what avenue is picked and, All right, next slide.
Wait, can I ask a
Sure.
So that the 3.8,
Yep,
we're putting in an extra 200,000-ish,
correct. So it's 3.6 currently,
3.6, and it's going to go
up to 3.8.
3.8, and that extra 200, does it sit in fund balance until we need it, or?
So it just sits on the budget line item, and then at the end of the year, if there is a profit, like a surplus or revenues to expenditures, then that's where it would roll into fund balance.
Okay. So this just trains us to be budgeting at a level where we think we will be borrowing in the future.
Correct, where our expense is probably going to end up for that debt
So
payment.
that it's less of a shock
Correct.
once we make that borrow.
Bunch of tiny little shocks along the way.
Little tiny shocks instead of one big shock.
Right.
Oh, and this will be we will expect to increase level debt spending for about the next 4 to 5 years.
I would say so, yes. I think, it depends on the amount and the project that's decided upon. But yes, I could definitely foresee that.
Just so the public knows that potentially we could be looking at about $30 million worth of construction projects. To get there, we need to be up in the level debt spending of 4 point.
It goes as high as 4.8 right now that PFM projects. Now that's just an estimate right now.
Right. So we are going to continue to increase year over year till we get to that level.
Right, and it might need to be more than 200. Depends on the term of the borrowing and what those payments look like. But I think the scenario that we're discussing now, right, it was
Right. And if we find out that we do not need to do maybe some of the additions, then we can flatten that back off
correct.
at a certain point. So this is just to increase for budget purpose only.
Trying to prepare as best we can for that. Yep.
And we're gonna keep our fingers crossed for really low bids when it comes time, right?
Okay, next slide, Leslie, please. I think this is a slide that I always like to put in when it becomes available. They had posted 2023, 2024 as the latest. So this is your expense per ADM or, per student expense. Those numbers are pretty hard to read on the screen, so if you have your paper, I highlighted Shippensburg's and where we stand expense per ADM. You can see that we're towards the bottom third in what we spend per ADM. And it breaks it out by categories too, like your instruction, your support services. So yeah, we're in pretty in the bottom third there. And these are the Cumberland. I added Cumberland and Franklin County schools to this.
That's a good number to know. Thanks for that.
You have one of these for staff and teachers as well on the ranking
For
for how much is made per person or anything like that compares.
it might be out on the. Yeah, I could see if it's out on the PDE website. I think they do have something like that. Yep.
We're right there with Cumberland Valley.
I'm glad they're following our lead.
Look at their ADMs.
Yeah.
Triple us up. Okay, next slide. If there's no other questions. So I just wanted to hit on the personnel list again. Again, this is the same list that we saw previously. So wanted to just bring it up again. So we're looking at new personnel costs next year of about $650,000.
Not shown in this is the current posting for an assistant
Correct.
principal.
Correct.
So there's actually two
Yep.
that we're looking before or at the start of the next school year, next budget year, I mean.
Right. Yeah, I just put any new, what would be new positions that we would be, but you're right. Yep.
Could the configuration of what the building projects are and grades at what buildings play a role in the need for a second assistant principal? I'm just asking, not as like,
I mean, I think it goes back to like asking the question, how many students are in the building? When a building gets to be approximately 450 students, that becomes a little bit tough to manage for one administrator. So that's kind of like the tipping point to ask that question. And depending on the configuration of the buildings, to answer your question, whatever's in those buildings, we'll have to make kind of a value decision on that. I think for the foreseeable future, SACE is going to be well above that 450. And I think any help at that level between the two buildings would be greatly appreciated. We can evaluate, what's needed after that point. But all of our buildings are over 450 currently.
right.
At the elementary level. And so that's, certainly a strain. And, we've taken steps this year to mitigate that with, the board authorizing the hiring of an assistant principal with the elementary level.
Got it, thank you.
I would like to understand why middle school interventionist is not on the list.
Well, we had meetings with all levels of principals. They gave us their priorities, and then we had a separate meeting to parse that down. As you can see, it's already over $500,000 of new expenditures. So, we can certainly add more things in. It's not an exhaustive list necessarily. I would love to add them all.
Yeah, of course.
That would be great, but we can't do that in one budget cycle. So these were the ones that rose highest as needs for the upcoming school year. Trying to stay within that $600,000 limit that Mr. Barwin asked us to stay within. So you're seeing the fifth grade teacher is really not an option. When your building gets to be high enough, you simply need more secretarial help. Behavior specialists, particularly across the elementary level, are in high demand. An ELD teacher, that's a cost neutral one for us. In order to get us where we needed to be, I think the board was aware of our plan, to get operations and custodial services where they needed to be. Student services, I've shared with the board, just our sheer number of students who, 20% of our students have IEPs, and we are far below other districts, that have that pure size. So an additional administrator there is necessary to be able to support that department and get, the services to the kids that they need. And then, an additional special education teacher at the elementary level. Right now we're kind of double housing 2 programs in 1 room, as a way of trying to be cost effective, but, best interest of kids, that we add a special education teacher there. If there's interventionists that we want to add, we certainly can. It's just going to drive that number up. So.
Right.
So that, I know I keep saying this, like, because we keep talking about it. We have this, like, pig in the python thing happening.
Yep.
So that 5th grade teacher next year, does that mean we would need an additional 6th grade teacher, or can you sort of level things out and spread
So,
things out at the middle school?
great question. So, in the process, remember, we go from like 12 and 13 teachers, including G Blues, through our system. When we get to SACE, we're only at 10. So we were at 10. So last year, we advocated for an additional 4th grade teacher. That brought us to 11, 12 counting G Blues, okay? And then there's still only 10 at 5th grade. So we're actually going to need 2 5th grade teachers there. The goal is minimally we have to get to 12 in those 2 grades. I'd love to have another 4th grade teacher to balance that out. I'd love to have another 3rd grade teacher next year at Nancy Grayson. It's just hard decisions that you have to make. What are the priorities? Because you can't get everybody in at the same time.
So this sounds similar to what we were talking about with the borrowing earlier. These are little chunks out of a pie that's pretty big to try to diminish some of the pain with our population.
Right. And to the board's credit, the middle school, before I came on, or right as I was coming on, there was the adding of 7th grade teachers at the middle school to deal with that, because there was a little wonky configuration there where the other 2 grades had more teachers. So we had this kind of very large class sizes at 7th grade. So there's similarly to that, we're looking to do the same thing throughout the system. And, it's just can't be done in 1 year, particularly as we continue to grow. But ideally, depending on where we go with projections, we're looking at needing 12 to 13 teachers per grade level. And some of that is going to be, looking at where larger cohorts are and making some moves that allow class sizes to stay where they're comfortable or at least feasible to relieve stress at other grade levels.
So if there's the evidence that indicates that there is a challenging situation in the middle school and with the reading comprehension, literacy, like what's the evidence to say it doesn't support adding help there, or does support? Like, what is deciding that factor other than conversations among the principals? I don't know what the middle school principal's saying, but if we're hearing as a board that there's issues with reading in the middle school, what prevents us from moving in a direction?
So what prevented this was conversation administratively around what the priorities were across the district and trying to stay within a budget number that Mr. Barwin gave us. So, it can be a matter of, do we want to take one of these off? These were the top ones that we wrestled over to get a list together. If we want to take one of these off, we can. We can, replace it with an intervention at the middle school. We can add it. That's why we have budget meetings to make those decisions. So, if it is the will of the board to add additional support at the middle school to bring back those interventionists full time, I'm not against it. It's just, it's going to bump that number up close to $900,000, right? another 100,000 each. So, I mean, that puts it at 837 and some change. So if the board's comfortable with that, let's do it. It's just going to make other decisions, have to happen.
If we were to do something like that, we have, what, about 4 grades that are problematic?
Depends on the building, but, so
Oh.
3 right now, coming through as a whole, fourth, third, and second are larger. And when they hit SACE, they're all going to come together.
So if we had bumped our budget to $900,000, that would gets us how many interventionalists?
2.
2. Is that enough to help catch those grade levels up?
I mean, I think it's a start.
If
I
we
mean,
get them one at a time as they're coming through, and you place 2 in that grade level to give the support that some of the
so those interventionists would have to work 6 to 8. Okay, so all grades would be served by those 2 interventionist positions, which isn't untenable, but it is a big building. I mean, if you think about just one of our elementary buildings and how many Title I teachers we have in just one of our elementaries, it's certainly more than 2 for a building that's way significantly bigger. So it's a step in the right direction, Kirk. I don't know that we get it there in 1 year.
Well, I mean, if you put 2 interventionalists in the top grade and pick them off, and pick the kids off in that particular grade before they moved on, if we're talking like having to get interventionalists for 4 years, we're looking at what, about $1.2 million? Oh, no. Yeah, about $1.2 million in expenditures over the course of 4 years to pick them all off and maybe catch them up.
Right. I would just caution that, it's not just, it wouldn't fall entirely on the interventionist to close that gap. I mean, it really is a system that needs to be in place, and a schedule that supports it, so.
I was just trying to get
Yeah.
my head wrapped around a little bit what we're talking about.
Yep.
But once we would catch that group up, the work that the lower grades are doing should fix that problem. And those kids should be able to float through middle school at a higher proficiency level at that point. Is that what I'm kind of?
So our district focus in our comprehensive plan has been to build, interventions and MTSS supports. All the research says, make sure that you have your tier 1 at the elementaries in place first and your tier 2 set at that level. Obviously, there's some urgency at the middle school that we want to address as well. And more bodies are gonna help that. Unfortunately, we have to add. We have other priorities as well.
If we were to institute that plan, and it's kind of like temporary position, as we grow, will those positions be absorbed in our growth?
I mean, moved around.
Yeah.
Maybe to another building, like lower.
Yeah, I mean, once they're in the
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
what positions, we have some ability to move, to where needs are.
Would there be a benefit, Mr. August, of if you did 2 of doing interventionist and a coach? I've heard Dr. Donat speak a lot about the coaching.
So, I think that's a great question, and thanks for bringing it up. So interventionists work with kids, coaches work with teachers, primarily. There's some great overlapping. The only way to improve, human performance is through coaching. So, we currently have 1. I came from a life where, that there was far more support. There was 1 coach per building, and I'm a huge believer in coaches. So again, don't tempt me, because I would love to put interventionists and coaches on that. But that's blowing through, some road stops that have been in place, so, I would love to entertain that discussion about adding those additional tier 1 supports for our staff. I mean, and quite frankly, the load that Dr. Donat carries, as K to 12, having some additional support and hands that that she can, ride over top of it rather than have to be the only, lone ranger almost, across 7 buildings. I think, goes a long way. Instructionally, to my mind, the right coach can make a huge difference in a building.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and
again-
that's why I was asking, because I mean, hearing Dr. Donat speak at the 2 curriculum meetings that we've held, and talking with Ms. DeLong also about some of the things that have been happening. It seems like coaching is one of those things that it makes a large impact in a lot of ways. You're instructing and you're coaching the teachers, which in turn is then going to help the students. So to me, it's like cost benefit, beneficial for both.
I mean, you just need to give me the word to add those positions in. I'm not going to fight you for it.
I mean, for me,
fight you on
that's
it.
I'm only one person. I could see benefit of doing both a coach and an interventionist. But again, I'm one board member.
I assume you picking those numbers off of how many kids might need it. Do we have that number in mind? Because certainly it isn't all 6th, all 7th, all 8th graders. What number are we working with? Or do we think we'd be working with? Do we know that?
Well, I mean, I think that comes down to an MTSS system in place, which would identify those kids.
It's hard to pick a number of how many you need to handle if you don't know how many kids. Or is
Haven't
that not-
identified, right?
That haven't been identified. We don't know what we would need to cover yet, do we? Or
Well, I mean, I think you start with, 1 or 2, to find, again, it's that pyramid of tiers,
I
so
was
like,
just curious.
yeah. So, I mean, it's a quote that we say a lot. You can't tier 2 your way out of a tier 1 issue. And that's where coaches come in to play. And I think as we grow out the curriculum and our curriculum is one side of the equation, the other side is the instruction side, and the instruction side gets improved, through coaching, collaboration, talking with peers, getting into each other's classrooms, to see best practices, in action.
Mr. Barwin, I don't mean to give you gray hair. I know it's above the number that you kind of identified for us. So.
I kind of think about the role of the board, and it's not our job to run the day-to-day operations of the school. Whenever we're together and there's a majority here tonight, then that's when we can act and help make decisions or help provide necessary aspects of what's needed by the district. When I look at the number and I see the $637,000, I think the question would be if the board is willing to absorb an increase in that area, then the board can say to the administration, what are the next priorities that extend beyond these positions right here? And what we're hearing is that there is that need for intervention or coaching in the middle school or elsewhere in the district. Are we willing to take that jump and say, hey, we want to see an increase in supports for students in these areas. We're comfortable increasing this number in the budget that is associated with a tax increase to some degree come the end of the budget cycle. But that's the amount. That's all I want to say right now. I mean, for me to say this is who you should hire, I think what are the priorities of the district? What are the priorities of our students' needs? What we're hearing is, some of us are hearing, is that there is a high need in certain areas.
So I want to agree with Mr. Alosi there. I think it is March. This is sort of like our Elite 8 here. We've made it this far, even though there's 9. But I think I don't want to second guess the prioritization that the people that we hire to be really good educators have already done. But I think if it would be nice to see who didn't make the cut and what additional priorities there might be that are at like 10, 11, 12 and
So, I mean, we definitely have a 3-tiered thing. I might even have shared it with the
You
board.
did.
And again, those, just to repeat, those are what the building principals told us. what our priorities are. Okay, so like the first layer was to hear directly from the building admin as to what they saw as their building needs. And it's a little bit like choosing between your children, which one makes the list. And some of these have been on the list for a couple years. You may recognize some of them, from previous years that have just cycled up and have either been kind of just put on the back burner where it can no longer be on the back burner, and have been able to move forward. So, yeah, I mean, I'll reshare that list with everyone.
Again, though, I don't want to be the one that's second guessing a lot of work that's already been done by our administrators.
It was a torturous process, is what I'll tell you.
So-
I mean, a very torturous process. We spent a couple hours, arguing and debating and taking things on and taking things off, and watching the number at the bottom change.
So we're already sort of in the weeds a bit, so I'll just stay there for a second. But I appreciate your comment there that you said, apparently this is education speak that I am unfamiliar with, that you can't tier 2 your way out of a tier 1 system, right? So I'm interpreting that as saying, you can't intervention yourself out of a problem that exists like sort of in the main sort of corridors for receiving education, right? And so when you talked about having a coach like that sounds like that's a tier 1 approach, right? Let's improve like the original delivery, and that's the sort of primary, I don't know, sort of driver of success, right? Rather than sort of catching the ones that fall.
Right. So it's really tightening up your tier 1 so that you're reaching about 80% of your kids are getting to proficiency. And then, in any population, obviously some aren't going to respond or be successful with just tier 1 efforts. So that's where your tier 2 comes in, and that's where all those interventions are. It is more of an elementary. It's more built in at the elementary because that's where our Title I teachers are. And so they'll provide the tier 2, along with special education teachers who provide tier 1 or tier 2 and tier 3 interventions.
But just explain to me, so that we have, did you say we just have one coach
We have Marcia Schmoosh is one coach for the district.
for the entire district?
She's primarily at the elementary level,
Okay.
Math, right?
primarily on the math side
We don't have one for reading.
at the elementary. We used to.
Yeah, no coach.
We used to.
Yeah.
That was part of Esther's money.
I mean, yeah. I guess, just, hearing you talk and thinking about this a little bit, it really seems like this, if we're going to spend more money because we want to, focus, I guess I'm leaning more towards this focus on coaching, which seems to sort of make more sense in my mind than spending money. I feel like you're getting more bang for the buck, right? In a sort of long-term systemic sort of approach. Not that you don't need interventionists, right? Because that's important, but like, I don't know, I hear so many stories about like the new teacher that, needing support or struggling because, they're thrust into a situation that, they weren't necessarily prepared for. And, I don't know, we're dealing with sort of more and more, English learning language students and stuff. That also seems like an opportunity for coaching, especially for maybe more senior educators who aren't familiar with like how to approach those things and stuff. I just, again, want to think about like, I don't know, creating a system for the future, right? Creating a system that sort of works 10 years from now. It's a sort of better rather than creating a system that would have been great 10 years ago. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, rather than playing catch up, creating, something that sort of works better.
I think unfortunately not unfortunately. The challenge is we have to do both ends.
Sure.
And a kid who's behind, most of the all the research that I've read and my own experiences, they need double dosed. So they need the tier 1 instruction, and then they need to get another session for some amount of time to work on whatever skills they're not quite up to speed on. So it's really double dosing, which then comes into your schedule. Like where does that double dosing happen? Who is doing it? That would be an intervention in most cases. And then I would say, the other part is, so when, who are the two big issues with double dipping. And really, at the middle school level, you have to remember, and we're actually meeting online with a school from Pittsburgh that has a built-out middle school program to kind of pick their brains on what they're doing, because they have a lot of the same elements we do, but those kids are going to, if you're double dosing something, those kids are going to be missing something.
Yeah.
And that's either missing a special or, a time when other kids might be at clubs or, so that's the challenge, is like, when are you doing that in the schedule? And there's some time there already built in. So we have a structure at the middle school that has some pockets of time. But I think to someone's point, like if we're just hiring one intervention is way better than no intervention is. But that it's where are you doing that double dipping at, and who's doing it. And, the research I've read, what I'm experienced with is it's got to be prolonged. It's got to be long, between like 45 and 90 minutes, in either a one-on-one session or a 3 to 5 kids situation. So those are best practices. And so for us to get there, there's a lot of moving parts to that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but on the coaching side,
No, it just makes it sound like it's really hard problem to
well, then,
solve. I mean, the more
it's a challenge for sure.
Dr. Donat, it is, right?
I mean, the more I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud now, right? But I mean, you're just dealing with, populations of human variance, right? And not all kids are made the same, and not all kids are going to learn the same, and it's just, it just speaks to the overall challenges of a large, institutional education, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be interested tomorrow to hear what their staffing is and how they pull it off. Yeah, I did some sleuthing on their website and found the different parts of their MTSS system, but I couldn't really get a coherent vision of what the logistics were. And so that's what I'm going to be asking tomorrow. Because there's time in our schedule at the middle school to do these things, but it just comes back to who, and then what are we doing for them. What we don't want to do, and this is, I don't want to put an interventionist in, have the system where they're not reaching a tipping point with kids, so they don't have enough time with the kid to get them where they need to be, because that's inefficient, and we're just wasting time with that individual. So it's really about how close to best practices can we be, and what can we implement. And again, I don't know that it's something, we'll have to move towards that system as we take care of other issues until, like I said before, my dream is to have a budget session where that personnel slide is empty, right? Because we don't need to add things. We're just not there yet.
So should we put a sticky note here and have this conversation next budget meeting?
I mean, we can.
You'll have time to. You'll have
Yeah,
time
I'll know
explore.
more, from that. Like I've got some ideas of what it could look like,
Yeah.
but until I always like to see it working somewhere else first, to get a sense of not that we need to do or be what they are, but can we Shippensburgize it, to our resources and our schedules, and again, like a mighty tanker in the ocean, you don't move things too quickly, but you can start turning the wheel
Right.
to get there, and that's where we are.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like the district is still sort of investigating best practices and models. And that we maybe aren't even quite ready to hire someone because we don't have we haven't investigated the slot where we would.
So the way budgets are, correct. I think there's some definite truth to that, in that we're much better situated at the elementary level with an MTSS system. Okay, like there's regular meetings. You know, we are going to be bringing some tools to help that process be smoother and faster. You know, but you know, building your MTSS program, and just so you know, multiple tiers of support systems is what it is. Is that what MTSS is about? You know, so it's, you know, how are you helping a kid? Look, you're looking at the student data, and then you're coming away with a plan to help them, whether it's tier 1 interventions or tier 2. So, you know, that system has been growing over the last 4 years, but, you know, it took a lot of energy to get up that hill. And you know, in our comprehensive plan, we talk about a K-8 MTSS system, and you know, I don't think it's a bad time to investigate that. We do know we're going to need the who at the middle school. Like that's just a given. Is the who is going to have to be answered, and if that's in this, I would hate to put a system into place that didn't have the who, and then have to wait another year. You know, so, you know, to my mind, if the board is willing, you know, and it's a similar priority, you know, we certainly can get that hiring done, and then, you know, it's not like MTS is some like magical, like hard, you know, it's just, you have to lay out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and who's going to do it. You know, there are tons of models, mostly at the elementary level, you know, some at the middle school level for us to build. But there's definitely an equation that's going to be someone dedicated to delivering tier 2 supports, you know, for kids within that model.
And just to be sure that I'm kind of understanding these terms and concepts, it sounds like the coaches are the fence at the top of the cliff, and the interventionists are the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Is that?
Well, I think that metaphor works on some levels. We wouldn't need anybody in there. I think it's, yeah, I'll try to think of a better one.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Caleb.
Oh,
Sounds like
At
to
least you can
be
put a sticky
continued.
Put a sticky note there.
yeah, yep. Okay.
Carry on.
This is a bit of a fun slide. You know, with being multi-county school district, you have the STEB, the State Tax Equalization Board, that sets these percentages every year that equals out kind of the millage rate, which affects the increase for each county. So this is an odd one this year, where this is to the index of 4.7%. You can see Cumberland County's millage rate goes down a hair, and Franklin County's jumps a good bit. So with a 4.7% increase, the implication to a taxpayer in Cumberland County with the median assessed value of $176,300, their tax bill would actually decrease per month by 31 cents.
That's just like undecipherable magic.
Right. Right. So
what percentage of our tax base is Cumberland County, and what percent is Franklin County?
so it went down. So Cumberland County was at 60 point something percent. It went down, that percentage, the share value went down to 57 something percent. And the Franklin County went up 39 to 42.
So, but rough numbers were 60-40, 60% in Cumberland County, 40% in.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit off of that.
Changed, yep, that's what changes.
But so Franklin County's grown a little bit. But if I'm understanding this right, if we increase to the index, 60% of our taxpayers would still see a decrease.
Right, the Cumberland County side would
Cumberland County
see,
side would see a decrease.
correct.
Yeah.
And it's happened in years past, where
Not the only one.
Cumberland County has taken the brunt, and
Yeah, it seems to flip flop every year.
it happens. Last year was kind of like an anomaly where it wasn't like too far off, but yeah, this year is back to being a bit wonky. And the Franklin County side gets hit a bit harder.
I think I could live to be 120 and I still would never understand.
Yeah, that's the multi-county school district for you.
So what would be the net increase total for going to the index next year? One county going.
What it would be for revenue, it would be about $1.9 million generated in revenue. We can go to the next slide there, Leslie. It has. So these are the scenarios, again, getting back to Kirk's point of the, we have a bit of a gap in the expenditures and revenues. We were showing, a 0% increase there earlier in the presentation, which we'd have a $4.5 million deficit. Now, some things to keep in mind with the expenditure side that, remember, we have that debt service budget number, which is about $1 million less. We're actually only paying 2.8, budgeting 3.8. So the expense side is, we can hit $1 million off of that, and that brings that number down considerably. This budget also has no new state money on the revenue side.
So that didn't include what you referenced on the front page.
That's in there. So the Ready to Learn adequacy money is in there.
Okay.
But that's happened, I don't know why it's,
Have mine.
I don't think any of them are working.
I don't think so.
I think they're all off.
Just talk louder.
I mean, are we waiting for people can people online hear us?
No, the people online can, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the $2.5 million in revenue for the Ready to Learn adequacy money, that's the money we've gotten the past 2 years from the state, which is at $1.2 million each year from the state. It's possible we could receive that again next year. To count on that, I'm not sure of if that's probably the best idea, unless the state comes out and is committal on that. But again, that's something that could end up closing the gap for us of that if we go to the index, we have that $1 million to take off the 2.6, goes down to 1.6. We have that Ready to Learn adequacy money of 1.2. We're sitting close to an even budget there. And usually the state comes through with some type of basic ed and special ed funding, but it's minimal. So that's kind of where we're with the growth of the district and the personnel side of things. Like this isn't usual for a district. I mean, we're growing. Some districts are not growing. Some districts are staying the same. But that's an unusual kind of expense to keep adding, 10 or so positions year over year. And, that puts a strain on your budget where you need the revenue side as well to keep up with the expense. Or you cut down on some of the expenses somewhere and take a hit there.
I have a question.
Sure.
We're projected to grow 500 kids, and so we have staffing, building, all that type of stuff. Does our tax revenue increase fast enough to keep up with that growth? Maybe if you can't answer that, that's
Right.
fine.
It's hard to answer that for, I would say 5 years down the road. But to keep up with, the medical insurance that has increased 10+% each year, the personnel list of 10+ employees each year, the salaries and benefits that we pay that are 67% of the budget, to increase that contractually each year. These are expenses that if the state or the federal side is not coming through with revenue, you need the local side to coincide with that, or else you're going to inflate the expense side and you're not going to have the revenue, and then you're going to end up where we're with ESSER money, you're out of revenue and you have too much expense.
If we have 500 kids coming in 17,750 per kid of the ADM, that's 8.8 million in growth
Right,
over 5 years.
right.
So that's $1.7 million in growth And I know sometimes when the kids come in, they kind of get absorbed in other classes, so you don't really see
Right, it could be placements, it could be cyber.
placements and stuff like that. But if that number were to hold true over that period of time, and you said our income expected this year would be 1.9 because Cumberland County gets a
Yeah, it all equals out. I mean, it's still the 4.7%, but yeah,
right. So, but we get 1.9.
1.9,
1.7 per year.
right?
You burn that up pretty quick.
Could be, yep. Now, are those houses, or are they, townhomes, or how much real estate money are you receiving on that in the tax base? It's hard to tell too with where's that growth going to be living,
Well, we're traditionally in more of a lower income,
right?
so I don't think they're going to be high tax base. Maybe median.
Right. Yeah, so these are all factors where it's a lot to, with every cost rising, like we talked about earlier in the presentation with special ed tuition, cyber charter tuition, and then the actual, needs that we have to function day to day with the personnel list.
The other question I have
Mhm.
is if we grow that much and we see that those many kids come and that's what they cost us, if we continue to grow past the 5-year mark, which I could conceivably see that would happen, the district would be pretty much not be able to borrow any more bonds, since our bonds traditionally borrow bonds that we could actually repay. And we normally do that every 15, 20, 25 years.
Right. It could be possibly a refinance of an old bond that we'd have to do years down the road. You might have to look at different terms on the bond borrowing, depending if it's a new construction or what type of project you're looking at doing. But yes, even if if we're planning on borrowing a $20 to $30 million project over the next couple of years, it's hard to turn around in 5 years and say, hey, we need to do
Again.
$30 to $4 million again.
So the projects that we have coming, we got to make sure we make the right choices,
Correct.
because that's pretty much it for borrowing for a while. Potentially.
Potentially. Yeah, and I think it's a good point. I mean, is the growth coming in 5 years, or are we going to piecemeal? Is it better to piecemeal the project to where you don't have to put out 30 million or 30 million plus, and you only have to maybe do 10 million the first 2 years and play a see where we're at game? I know we're getting ahead of discussions there, but.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the budget scenarios? So looking maybe the past 10 years, but how many times has fund balance needed to be utilized to balance the budget? Looking at these three options, I recall every budget cycle, it seems like it's kind of doom and gloom, and it's a negative. We're spending way too much than what we're bringing in, and so we have to increase taxes to the index to balance. But I don't know, or maybe you do, as to at what point in time had there ever been a time when we had to pull from fund balance to balance our budget? I don't recall a time, and at least since I've been paying attention. But
Right. Last year, we had a deficit close to $500,000. But times before that, I'm not sure that we've had a deficit. We had a couple warehouses come on. We had the ESSER money, which helped subsidize some of our personnel needs, I believe. This was pre-me, so if I'm speaking wrong, someone correct me. But we had some ESSER money, and then when that ESSER money went away, I think there was some hard decisions made once that revenue went away to cut some expense back. But I don't know a time that fund balance in the 10 years.
So 2 years ago, we would have had to pull from fund balance if the out of the blue adequacy money had not shown up. So we got an unknown $1.2 million in ready to learn money in the middle of the school year. So, if we had not gotten that, we would have had,
Right, would have been added onto that 500, so like 1.7.
well, for this year and last year, so 2 years.
Got it.
So we ran that $500,000 deficit last year, but that was with an influx of $1.2 million unexpected. Well, probably more expected than it was before.
Right.
But 2 years ago, it was literally out of the blue when that money came, and we were headed for a deficit until that money arrived.
One of the other reasons we haven't had to draw from fund balance is because we've had level debt spending set at 3.4 million, but we've only needed to utilize cash of 2 million or 2.5 million. We've always had a cushion. We are running out of cushion.
Will be, yes. Yep.
I'm just gonna, I know Nathan's here, so I'm gonna speak as though I were Nathan. We always have this, we have great people who help us with our finances, and they do things very, very conservatively. And I think our deficit spending projected at this point in the year last year was going to be much, much deeper into the fund balance than we ended up with because of how conservative we are with our budgeting. And as Nathan reminds us every year, we seem to be better than we thought, come budget. Once we count all the numbers, I'm kind of an optimist, but it seems like we do better than we think.
I don't know if we've ever seen a budget at 80 million versus 75 million now. That's a little different.
And, not that you want to celebrate red numbers, but, up and down the valley,
Yes.
our red numbers are not as big as other districts
Not at
are
all.
facing, steeper curves.
Lancaster.
Well, they have they had other issues, but up and down the valley, our red number, you never want to see them, but relative, I think it speaks to the conservatism that we've tried to. Not that there's other districts haven't been as well, but
Those are red numbers that I can swallow.
Okay.
Okay, go to the next slide, Leslie. I just had discussion points on there, personnel tax increase scenario, which we did. So next meeting we have is next April 13th. We have a budget finance meeting. And then the proposed final budget will be on April 27th. We'll need board approval there, and we'll take action on a final budget on June 8th. That's all I have tonight.
Depending on how the debate is going in the legislature, as far as the budget, if it's looking promising that it could pass before June 30, is there a desire or a possibility we could hold off later in June and see how that transpires?
It's possible. I don't think like the state's gonna have anything by then, but I personally, in my business office personally likes the June 8th due to tax bills going out on July 1. There's always hiccups because it seems like all districts use the same vendor to try and get these tax bills out and tax bills printed. So I would prefer it stay on June 8th.
Got it.
Yeah, I would think it would be horribly optimistic, and I know that's a bit of an oxymoron, to think that the state legislature is going to finish their budget on time.
I agree. As I say to my kids all the time, there's an Aerosmith song about that. Dream on.
I'd say you're done, Mr. Barman. We can conclude. And we'll take a short break, and at 7:30, we will begin the public meeting.
Feeling all right?
Miller High School.
I'm confident. I just didn't want to spread it. My wife's got it bad, and I got cough, sore throat.
All right, well, hope you feel better soon.
I'll make it.
As he's doing his math homework. Did you just have that for you? Or is it a tool?
There's some report coming out. That's using.
I don't use it, because I want to replace. But occasionally, if there's something dumb,
Go time.
get power.
Good evening. Welcome to the Shippensburg Area School District School Board Planning and Action Meeting for March 23rd of 2026. I'd like to ask Mr. Caleb Barwin to complete roll call.
Mr. Jim Bard,
Yeah.
Mr. Mike Carey,
Here.
Dr. Nathan Goetz,
Here.
Dr. Michael Lyman,
Here.
Mr. Kirk Noggle,
Here.
Mr. Fred Scott, Mrs. Becky Wolfinger,
Here.
and Mr. Drew Alosi.
Here. Can you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we begin our deliberations this evening, let us once again be reminded of our duty to represent all of the children of the school community, regardless of age, sex, or creed, and regardless of need or ability. This meeting is being live streamed and uploaded to the district's YouTube channel. May we now have a moment of silence to reflect on our thoughts, plans, and actions on behalf of the students in the Shippensburg Area School District. Okay, moving on to item 1F, appointment of new board member. I'd like to preface this with appreciation for the individuals that have submitted their material for the board to review. It is a volunteer effort. It takes a lot of time and effort and dedication, and it's been an honor to serve alongside everyone on the board that is sitting up here as of now. So as we go through this process here, I would first like to identify individuals that have submitted their names for consideration. In alphabetical order is Gina Banks, Mr. John Bradford, Mr. Emmanuel Monzon Gonzalez, and then Mr. Charlie Suiters. So the four of them have submitted materials to the board for consideration. Is there any of those individuals here tonight? Is Mr. Bradford? Okay, you're here. Mr. Gonzalez? Ms. Banks? Mr. Suiters? Okay, there's two individuals here, so I would actually ask them to be invited here to come to the mic to provide any additional information they would like to share about why they are pursuing this. So we'll go in alphabetical order. So Mr. Bradford, if you'd please come to the mic.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name's John Bradford. I live in Hopewell Township. I've lived there almost 9 years after growing up in Chambersburg. My wife and I have a son, Sutton, who's in 2nd grade at Jamesburg. I graduated in Caches in 08. I then got my bachelor's degree at SU and my master's from Penn State. My interest in this position is really just driven by my desire to see my son have the best experience possible. Through 2 years in the district, really small sample size, he's had a tremendous 2 years, loved every second of school. I've also seen the flip side of that, where he hated it and dreaded it. My dad taught in the district for over 30 years. I saw his perspective as a teacher, both positive and negative, and dealing with complex relationships with students, parents, and his administrators. As a parent, I'm very interested in what my son is learning, but I'm equally interested in his safety at school and his transportation to school and from school every day. Very much like to impact the school district and be able to ensure the best and safest experience for my son and all the students in the district.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. So how closely have you followed the school board kind of happenings in Shippensburg?
Loosely, I think when my son first started school, I would have never paid attention to that. I think the experience that he's had has definitely started to draw my attention just in his treatment at school. But I'd say loosely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, Mr. Suitors, I believe you're here. If you'd like to come to the mic and add any additional information about yourself.
Why I wanted to do it again? I actually missed it. And you feel like you're doing something for the community. And I'm curious, that's one of the big things about it. And I worked with all of you except one on the board. So,
How many years did you have past experience on the board, Charlie?
that,
How many years were you on the board before?
16.
16. Sorry, Mr. Suitors. Sorry.
Anybody else have questions before he gets too far? Okay. I'd just like to point out the other two individuals that aren't here, Ms. Banks and then Mr. Gonzalez. I believe they've come in since.
Can I just ask, were they invited specifically to attend today, or was it just assumed that
was
they
the
might?
Posting, based on the posting that was publicly.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Just for sake of commenting, there's a desire among individuals to be a part of this board, and there is an election that happens every 2 years, and it flips. There's 4 seats open on one side, and then there's 6 or 5 open on another side of the district, regardless. So if you have that interest and you aren't selected tonight, please consider doing that. And for those that aren't here, it's the same message that, if you have that desire to serve, it's something unique and it's an opportunity to give back. So I guess the next step here is going to be asking the board if they would like to move forward with nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Suitors.
There's a nomination on the floor for Mr. Suitors. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So I'm not necessarily opposed to the nomination system, but that's not what we've done in the past. If this is how you want to proceed, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear on the process. So in the past, rather than nominating a person and voting yes or no, we've just gone around and voted a name.
I stand corrected. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly how it should be is intended. Yes.
Mr. Nagar, are you comfortable withdrawing your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll start with Mr. Carey.
I vote Mr. Suitors.
Mr. Goetz.
Ms. Banks.
Ms. Finger.
Mr. Suitors?
Mr. Lyman.
Mr. Suitors.
Mr. Suitors.
You have Mr. Bard, too.
Mr. Bard.
Mr. Suitors.
Okay. And Mr. Suitors. All right. So 6 members voted, indicated support for Mr. Suitors. And Mr. Banks, thank you again for coming this evening. Mr. Bradford, I apologize. Thank you for coming this evening. And honestly, continue to watch, continue to learn more, and put your name in and run. Because if there's a desire to serve, it would be welcome. Okay? So at this point, I would need to complete an oath of office. Mr. Suitors, if you can come to the front, please. Mr. Suiters, if you can raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Charlie Suiters,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
obey, and
Defend.
Defend. Defend.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
And that I will discharge the duties
I will just let my duties.
of my office with fidelity.
I would
Discharge the duties.
with facility.
All right. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Charlie.
And if you would
Beside,
like to have a seat,
We're by Mike.
beside Mike.
Now you're not lonely.
I feel better now.
all right, welcome, Mr. Suiters. Moving on, I would like to go to item I1G, which is the approval of the agenda. I would like to add the committee reports as item 3C. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move forward. Next item is citizen comments regarding the agenda items. Is there anybody here or online that would like to provide public comment? Nobody signed up? Okay. Moving on to item 3, we'll start with 3A. Do we have any students present, student representatives?
Mr. Blunt is not in attendance.
Okay, we'll move to item 3B, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Lucy. I'd like to recognize the individuals and groups that have provided additional financial support to the district. We would like to thank Weiss Market for a $25 gift card. I'm sorry, Amy Brandt for providing a Weiss Market gift card to support the Best Day Ever event. Monetary donation to support the Drama Club for East Coast Truck and Trailer Repair for $1,000. Senior Shelton's Tire Service to support Minithon, $250. Monetary donation to support the Minithon 11 Oaks Farm for $1,000. Best Day Ever event, Chamberlain's Pest Control for $100. Best Day Ever event, financed or supported by Fogelsanger Bricker for $100. $200 donation from JKM Training to support Best Day Ever. Kramer Insurance, $250 to support Best Day Ever. And RAB or RAB Off-Road, $300 donation to support Best Day Ever. So thank you very much, community members, for your support.
Okay, moving on to committee reports, item 3C. Ask for a report from Facilities Committee, Buildings and Grounds, I mean.
Facilities, sorry, wasn't on the agenda that I saw, so. Facilities Committee met this past week, and some of the items that came up, we've been talking about this basketball hoop installation discussion. The original board approval, we voted to install hoops, basketball hoops, for $66,000 a good while ago, and trying to get that done before the ceiling was put up in the gymnasium. Well, due to time constraints, we weren't able to do that, and we had to install the ceiling in the gymnasium and to get our occupancy permits. So, Tim, the maintenance director, is finally got everything pulled together, but we have to pull down part of the ceiling, 4 corners. so that we can put steel up in the ceiling to support the basketball hoops. That adds an additional $56,000 to the cost of that. So you have the 66, which was originally approved, and an additional 56 to pull down the ceiling. So that brings the cost of that project to about $120,000. Facilities, the majority in facilities recommended that be done. So I think part of that is on our agenda tonight, is it not?
The agenda was, when developed, the item you talked about as far as the ceiling removal and reinstallation, that was added to the action agenda, so they both are together.
Okay, right. So that's, facilities discussed that. We have an issue with the pool. The pool has been losing 2,000 gallons of water per day. We've been chit-chatting back and forth about how to find the leaks. We've had a couple people in to consult with. And after consulting with the folks, we ended up getting the name of a company, and that name eludes me at the moment, but maintenance director has been instructed to go out and secure them. The cost for the test to find the leaks in the pool are about $1,500. We don't know what they are yet, but they're going to come back with more information. And he was also tasked with getting some pricing on liners for our pipes. During the inspections, the cast iron pipes that run the filtration system were filled with corrosion. So the corrosion needs to be cleaned out, and we'll take a look at the liner system. I did not hear a price back from the liners. Did we get that?
I think Mr. Drawwell just got it today. I think it was close to around 70,000 for the liner.
So depending upon what they find with leaks, you know, and the repair for the leaks, there'll be an additional $70,000 to fix the pipes.
It's
Should seal the pool back up and get us back where we got to go. So we're still kind of waiting for some things to come in on that. The other thing that we talked about, we have these projects coming up for the growth of the district. And we have some studies and some things we need to get done in short order. So facilities recommended, we've met with an architectural firm, EI, who assisted us with the high school, middle school projects. To secure them, we've tasked them with providing us with rates based on actual cost of the project, so it'll be a percentage. We've also talked about providing us with cost to do preliminary design work. So as we go through and come up with different options, we have options that we've been talking about. They will charge by the hour for the time. So if we come up with 5 options, by the hour for the 5 options. If we come up with 2 hours or 2 options, it'll be just on a time and material basis. They are going to provide us with that information. But facilities recommends that we secure those guys to help us with these projects. And we haven't secured an engineering firm yet. So EI is looking for an engineering firm to assist in our project as well. Then through facilities, EI came to give us a presentation. We've been given a lot of different options. We have, as we said, about 500 kids based on a 3-year study that we have been doing. We think there are going to be 500 more students within about 5 years. We have a problem at the middle school. We're going to have more kids at the middle school than we can technically handle. So we have to figure out, are we going to expand the middle school? Are we going to pull classes out of the middle school and shift them to other grades or other buildings? And if so, what buildings are going to be looked at? We also talked about the expansion of middle school. Middle school is close to, there's not much room for expansion on the middle school. And EI presented us with information and on some options, and there are rooms in different locations that would have given us, I believe it was 15 or 16 rooms, was it not, Bill?
I'm sorry, I was
That's okay.
talking
For the middle school, the options they gave
12,
us,
10 or 12.
10 or 12?
10 or 12, I
I
believe.
thought the two-story, there was a two-story section. I can't
I,
remember what was in there.
I wasn't at the facilities meeting.
That's right. So anyhow, but it turns out EI and the facilities believes that the middle school will be one of the more difficult schools and costly schools to add additions to. So as we move forward with trying to figure out these options, we're not saying it cannot be expanded. We are recommending that other buildings should be looked at. But we have to come up with a solution on how we are going to handle the population growth within the middle school. The other thing that came out of that discussion was the high school is a good place to expand with some of the items that the board is looking at to handle different ways to handle stormwater that are kind of headed our way. And SACES would be the two best location based on purely building abilities and financial choices. It would be cheaper of the two to probably get square footage. So facilities recommends that as we're looking at our options, that those be the two areas that we look at. But middle school, if needed, can be looked at. The other thing about the middle school is we need to make sure that we have a long-term look. We talked a little bit about it in budget and finance. Is if we expand middle school, there is no more room. If we are continue to grow, we can fix the 5-year problem. Can we cover the 20 years of growth if our area is supposed to grow like that? So that is about it for facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noggle. Appreciate the work of the Facilities Committee as they're kind of digesting the various options and helping to gain understanding. It's much appreciated. Just an opportunity to make sure it's known and announced again, but on April 2nd at 6 p.m. Here at the middle school cafeteria, there'll be a special meeting on special building special building projects. Included in that will be representatives from EI as well as the building administrators that will be able to come, provide insight, input, answer questions. It's information gathering. There won't be a vote taken on that night. That is mainly to hear and retrieve information. So I invite the public, taxpayers, students, teachers, administrators who are providing testimony to be able to come and be present. So
Will there be any public comment, Drew?
there will be public comment, and most likely that would come at the end of the meeting, after everything has been discussed and everybody's heard what needs to be said and the questions and answers. So, moving on to the Student Services Committee, which chair is Ms. Becky Wolfener.
So we had a lot of conversation that day, countless items on the agenda, some of which we discussed earlier during the budget and finance meeting as far as the intervention and potential coach addition to the middle school. Some of the other topics that we talked about were the comprehensive plan for 2025, 2028 through 2028, excuse me. They kind of branch into 6 different goals, which kind of encompass student services, department evaluation, interventions, portrait of a greyhound, implementation, professional learning, STEEL standards, and ELA proficiency. We had some discussion on the bullying policy and the tracking of it. Just so happens that we discussed that, but it's getting ready to be a policy that's reviewed in 2026. So that'll be something that we kind of tackle going forward. We had discussion on Chromebooks K through 2. Dr. Donat shared that currently in kindergarten they're utilized at a pretty minimal amount. In first grade, they're utilized about 45 minutes, and second grade, I believe, was right around 45 to 60 minutes. I believe that's kind of what she shared. We kind of talked about whether, there is an opportunity to limit them, not necessarily being one-to-one, but actually purchasing one-to-one. So kind of going back to the way that they were at some points where they were on a cart system. One of the things that was communicated from the administrators was it does take some time away from them having to retrieve carts. Didn't really get into any of the data side of things. I know Dr. Goetz had asked about, I believe it was not last meeting, but the meeting before, what kind of if there's any data to show whether they're positive or negative in that grade span, if I remember correctly. That's not something that we've dived into yet. I'm hoping maybe Dr. Donat could maybe do a presentation on if there's any data showing positive, negative with technology usage. We talked about special education, just really running through some of the needs for 2026, which you already see in the personnel requests. Cyber safety lessons were discussed and how they've been implemented into curriculum. There was some discussion on the ELL population and how that's continuing to grow in Shippensburg. We've gone from, in 2024, 2025, of having 329 students to 2025-26 school year, 353 students. So that population continues to grow, which I believe that was another request on the personnel list, if I remember correctly, to kind of accommodate that. We touched on the state reading mandate. Good news for that they are ahead of the curve on that one, and have a plan, and they're currently working on the curriculum, if I remember correctly, in the middle school, and I know there's some curriculum writing going on in the high school as well, to get us to those standards. New cursive legislation, there's a lot. New cursive legislation, of course, and that's still going to be a work in progress because it's kind of far out timeline-wise. Did I miss anything?
I think you did a great job.
There we go. So I enjoyed that committee. I think there's a lot of good conversation that's happening in there, and so just appreciative of all of the administrators that shared time with us last week.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
Yes.
have we clearly defined why those questions came up about the additional help may be needed at the middle school? Have we explained that to the public, that we have a group of kids that are below proficiency levels?
Yeah. I am probably not the best person to articulate that. Maybe Mrs. DeLong could share, or Dr. Donat could share. From my perspective, it's kind of, we have this group of students that are 5th grade through 8th grade that were our kids that were during COVID, that are now in that, or they were our younger kids at that point. They're now our 5th through 8th graders. And so that we've seen some declines in proficiencies in this particular 7th and 8th grade. Is that correct, Dr. Donat? And so they're the kids that really kind of struggled with some of the fundamental skills probably. We didn't have, so they're kind of in that middle school. We have one part-time interventionist in the middle school, which is only working with groups within 6th grade and 7th grade. And so we do not have anybody currently intervening with the 8th grade. So I think what the conversation has been is about identifying our students that are in the 8th grade before they hit high school, where there is not currently any intervention in the high school, so that we can maybe kind of get a plan in place a little bit within this school year, and definitely if it needs to be addressed in the 9th grade going forward. Using some of the data that we already have, trying to identify, who are our students that are 1 grade behind, 2 grades behind, identifying them, kind of, getting the list of names and seeing how many, because maybe it's 10, right? Maybe it's 20. You don't really know until you kind of get to that point in the data. So I think that that's some of the work that's being done. Did I touch on all that right? Anything you want to add?
No, I think you're just talking about the cohort of students who were in the primary grades during COVID.
Yes.
So, we were in and out of school at that time,
Yep.
learning online, and so losing out on that time, I think, is what we're.
So I think, as I look at it, Mr. August kind of touched on earlier about the K through 5 and the emphasis that we've been putting on the MTSS now. And that's going to be a great solid foundation going forward. And so it's kind of like sandwiching together, right? We're trying to address the students that are in that 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade that maybe didn't have all of the fundamentals. And once we've kind of worked through those kids, everybody that's coming upward now is getting those fundamental skills. And so eventually we kind of sandwich ourselves out of the problem. Make sense?
That was good.
Peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, there you go.
So just to make sure I understand, I'm having a hard time believing that if we had a student that was in 8th grade that was struggling, that there isn't anything in place. I don't want to. So I'm certain that there are things that we would still do for students who are. So it's not like nothing is in place. It's just that we would like to shore things up a little bit, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else for student services? Thank you, Mrs. Wolfinger. Moving on to budget and finance, there was a meeting last week, and I'm going to ask Mr. Barwin to report on the meeting, given that it was preparing for the discussion tonight at the committee of the whole.
Sure. It was honestly just a first look at tonight's presentation. We went through expenditures like we did tonight and revenues. We also looked at the debt service like we did tonight as well. We talked a little bit about bond borrowing that could be possible later this year and the requirements and when that would need approval process by the board, which would be August if we're going to look to borrow in October or real early November. So just some minor discussions on that. And that was it.
Okay, and then also, I was chair of budget and finance. As school board president, I don't feel it's appropriate I be a chair of a committee. So I've asked Dr. Ghost to serve as chair of the budget and finance committee, and he graciously accepted. So thank you, Dr. Ghost. Moving on to consent agenda. Would like to identify 4A as approval of minutes, and in doing so, would want to inform the public that we held an executive session prior to that meeting to discuss contract negotiations, personnel matters, and real estate. 4B, the finance report, finance items that are attached. 4C is an expulsion waiver. The parents waived their right for a hearing. 4D is program of studies revised. 4E is personnel, which is professional and support staff. Professional support staff. I'd like to welcome I'd like to welcome a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Moving on to item 5, action agenda. These items will be taken separately. Item 5A is a field trip request. John Marshall, high school social studies teacher, is requesting permission to take a group of approximately 70 students to a tour of the White House on April 9th. This trip is not in the field trip handbook. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to 5B, the senior class trip of 2026. Looks like the senior class trip of 2026 will be on Friday of May 29th. They will be going to the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C. and then will travel to the National Harbor for lunch and sightseeing on their own. Finally, they will embark on a dinner cruise from the National Harbor with city experiences. All costs will be the responsibility of each individual student. Transportation will be coordinated through the district transportation office. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Can we delineate who the motion is and who's the second?
I'll do my best.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 5B passes. 5C is AvNet Mini Grant. Mrs. Kirkpatrick, K and 8 gifted teachers seeking a retro approval to accept $500 from the AvNet Mini Grant. The grant covers the cost of 2 Fitch robots and 2 Finch robot mat. Additionally, she seeks approval to accept $200 from the COS Mini Grant. The grant will cover the cost of 1 Indie robot and Indie robot teacher guide. These grants help support the chief science officers from the middle school to continue to build a STEM library that they are creating for teachers in grades K to 8. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
I think it's cool that we have chief science officers.
I've heard great things about the robotics in the district. This is awesome. 5D, ESS Northeast LLC addendum. Administration recommends the approval of the addendum to extend the agreement between ESS Northeast LLC and the district from July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2031. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5E, Sentinel 1. Administration recommends renewing the Sentinel 1 agreement for 2026-27 through 28 and 29 at a cost of $11,638.25. Sentinel 1 monitors all of our employee devices in real time for suspicious activity and for known threats. The system resolves what it can. It cannot resolve a threat. It disables the device from accessing the network and alters the IT staff. In the last 12 months, it has stopped 34 malicious programs from infecting district devices. The system also alerts us to software installed on devices that needs to be updated due to security concerns. Is there a motion to approve?
I assume we've had good success with it. I don't know anything about Sentinel One. Yes? So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I assume it alerts the IT staff. It doesn't alter them. Okay. A little typo in the agenda.
I've seen it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 5F, laptop replacements for the elementary teachers. Administration recommends approval to purchase computers from the attached quote to replace the teachers' computers at the elementary schools. The purchase price is $182,865.50 and will be paid out of the Capital Outlay Technology Fund balance. This is part of the teachers' device refresh cycle. Last year, the secondary teachers received new computers. April 1st, they are expected a price increase. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion.
Is there a
okay.
discussion?
That's right. Sorry. Oh, I'd like to table this, not a motion yet, because after finding out some other information from other school districts, it appears to be a pretty big price variance that I've come to hear about, but I haven't had a chance to really dig into it. Like, I think Apple, some other places offer something of less value or lesser cost.
So Mr. Narco, if you make a motion to table,
I didn't yet.
right? I'm just saying, like,
Because we're under another motion, we're under an approval motion, right?
right. But if that goes through, then it would be either approved or
Okay.
so
then
your,
I make
yours
a
has to
motion.
intercede.
I'd like to make a motion to table.
I'll second.
There's no discussion.
Okay, is there any discussion?
There's no discussion on the motion to table.
Okay.
Just a vote.
I'll do a roll call for this. Mr. Barwin,
This is to vote to table.
this is a vote to table this item.
Okay. Mr. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Suitors,
Yes.
Dr. Goetz,
No.
Dr. Lyman,
No.
Mr. Noggle,
Yes.
Mr. Bard,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
Yes.
and Mr. Alosi.
No. I'd like to just make comment. I didn't know, we can't talk about it.
So the thing's off the table. Just a reminder, if it, the next meeting, if it wants to be off the table, there has to be a motion to bring it back.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Okay, item 5G, networking equipment. The administration approves accepting the bids for the replacement networking equipment that is currently out for bid. The purchasing timeline is set by the FCC to comply with E-rate requirements. This will need to be approved at the next board meeting if we want to apply for E-rate reimbursement, which would cover up to 80% of the cost. State contract pricing of those items is in the proposal. Before the 80% reduction is $75,630.70. Approval for this purchase would also be contingent to getting the reimbursement from E-rate. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5H is a capital area intermediate unit general operating budget for 2026. Mr. August, could you explain in a little bit more detail as to how the budget works there for that?
So, I mean, the IU works kind of like a conglomerate of school districts coming together. They have a budget, they have regular board meetings. So they have an operating budget as well that's supported by the member districts. So this is their proposed budget, that they've put forth. And I think the last several budgets, they have not had an increase to their budget. This year, they have a 3.82 increase.
So the cost to our district is not itemized here, but we just vote on the intermediate unit budget.
We're voting on that
as a
budget.
member.
Right.
Okay. Is there any question, or sorry, is there a motion to approve item 5H?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 5I, the summer food service program and staffing for 2026. The Food Service Department continues to offer a summer feeding program for the 2026 summer. The program will begin approximately June 8th through August 9th and provides free meals for children 18 and under. Federal funds are received for this program and cover all direct cost. Site participation is yet to be determined, and site participation is contingent upon meeting federal program eligibility and food service staff availability. The operation of the program is also contingent on Chartwell's renewal of annual contract for the school year 26-27, signed contract and approved application by the state no later than May 15th of 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
Actually, I just want to say thank you to all of our amazing staff that operate this program in the summer. With being as involved as I am in the summer with the band camp, I can just tell you that these amazing school district employees go above and beyond for students all summer long, and it just amazes me how many there's so much participation. They kind of go the extra mile with doing boxes for families for the weekends, and just it is absolutely amazing to see what they do. So just wanted to say thank you and ask, is it going to be at SACE again this year, or?
One of the sites will be at SACE.
Okay, perfect.
So I also would echo all of that. And then if I'm not wrong, I believe these meals are for all children in the district. There's no qualifying.
They don't even have to be our district. We have people that come from Chambersburg and other districts nearby.
Yep.
Their children just have to be 18 or younger unless they're
So all summer long, free meals for your children. So this is one of the, I mean, I've been pushing for universal lunches in this district forever. This in the summer we have them. You want your kids to be fed for free for lunch in the summer, then it's available. So
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on. Item 5J, K-12 guidance plan. Administration recommends the approval for the attached K-12 guidance plan. The review and plan is required document by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as part of 22 PA Code 339. This plan has been created in collaboration with the district school counselors, social workers, student services, and career coordinator. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next two items are kind of running concurrently. I'm going to review them both. So I'll do one at a time. 5K, installation of additional high school basketball rims. The Buildings and Grounds Committee and Administration recommend the purchase and installation of additional basketball rims and backboards at the high school gym. The costs are $66,414 and will be paid out of the construction fund. Item 5L is the same project as was explained by the Buildings and Grounds Committee, the gym ceiling removal and reinstallation. So the Buildings and Grounds Committee and Administration recommend the approval of the attached quote and have portions of the high school gym ceiling removed and reinstalled to permit the installation of additional backboards and basketball rims. The cost of the project is $56,160. So that's a total of $122,574 for the project. These items are listed separately on the agenda, so we'll take them separately. But first, for 5K, I would like to ask for a motion.
So moved.
Dr. Lyman makes motion second.
Mr. Carey.
Did, second.
Okay. Discussion on 5K.
Just a quick question. Why the construction fund versus the athletic budget?
This isn't something the athletic budget would take on. This was actually part of the middle school, high school project with the ceiling. It was within that realm. That's what it was going to be taken out of last year as well.
So the cost was already considered within that budget for that project?
No, this would be additional because it's removing the ceiling.
I'm saying as far as the
taking it back
construction
down.
fund goes.
Right, it can handle these costs, but it wasn't. The original thought was to put them up before the ceiling went up, like Mr. Nagle, I think, stated that in his committee report. But due to timing, that couldn't happen. So.
Right. And so I know the last meeting when it was on discussion, Mr. Nagle, there was conversation, and I don't think you touched on it earlier in your report, the option, what happened as far as like not putting the ceiling tiles back up with that space? Did they evaluate that?
Yeah, we did. The air condition and heating system is not capable of handling the additional cubic feet of air above the ceiling. So for the AC and heat system, we have to have the ceiling in to minimize the amount of space.
And those are brand new units, correct?
They are.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I would just like to echo what had been said, that Mr. Scott also pointed out back in the summer and maybe the spring when this was addressed about putting the ceiling up before having the other hoops installed. And I remember listening to the meeting at that point and saying that work seemed to make sense in that time frame. I don't know what the timeline was as to why it was so urgent. I wasn't really privy to that information, but I just wanted to point out Mr. Scott raised that question. So I want to support athletics, and I think there's a lot that's on the line as far as ensuring that our student athletes are successful and have what they need to continue to become well-trained athletes. But I just wanted to point that out. So we'll go ahead and I'll take a roll call for this, Mr. Barwin.
Mr. Bard,
This is K only, right?
This is 5K.
Okay.
Correct.
Mr. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Suitors,
Yes.
Dr. Goetz,
Yes.
Dr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Noggle,
Yep.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
Yes.
and Mr. Alosi.
Yes. Okay, moving on to 5L, high school gym ceiling removal and reinstallation. I'll take a motion for approval.
Move to
Moved.
approve.
Second.
Second. Motion.
Which one were you
Two.
pointing at?
Okay.
All right, any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Bard,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Suitors,
Yes.
Dr. Goetz,
Yes.
Dr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Noggle,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
Yes.
and Mr. Alosi.
Yes. Moving on to 5M, capital area intermediate unit letter of commitment. The administration recommends the approval of the attached letter of commitment to provide internet, phones, etc. Motion to approve 5M.
So moved.
Dr. Lyman, second.
Second.
Ms. Wolfinger. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 5N, engagement with EI Associates as architects on future projects.
If I could just interrupt for a second,
Please
Mr.
do.
Lucy. I was in contact with the Vice President, Adam Kerr from EI. He's proposing working within a simple amendment to the existing architect of record agreement. So, I mean, this motion is just to kind of continue that relationship and have it defined within that agreement already, is what.
I was hoping that the board would get to understand what their costs were.
Okay.
You know, but I do recommend, we do recommend to go forward with them. So
Yeah,
we don't want to.
this, I think this is a general, we're going to engage with them.
Yes,
So,
that's what it is. You know, we want to make sure that anything that we contract from here on out is, if they're on percentage, that they're based on actual costs. We ran into a situation long ago where we had a problem with that.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve 5N?
So moved.
So moved, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last action item is the nomination to service as a director of the Capital Area Media Unit. The term is July 1, 26 through June 30th of 2029. So I'm seeking nominations for somebody who would like to serve as the representative from Shippensburg School District on the Capital Area Intermediate Unit.
just a reminder, these meetings are held in Enola and start in the morning, I believe around 8 o'clock or 8:30.
Do you know what day?
Sorry,
Is it like always a certain day of the
it
week?
is monthly.
It's like a Thursday or something.
Is there a Zoom option? Like, do they do anything?
They did say they would be willing. They don't normally do that, but I think if we ask nicely enough, they would maybe accommodate that.
So I'm seeking nominations.
And I would just remind board members of my update in this issue as well. So
So does that current system that we have where we're unlikely bedfellows with the Big Spring School District, is that working?
well, it's a rotation among the member districts. Everybody kind of takes their time on the board. So we if we don't send a representative, then another district would fill that, and
So it's not ideal.
I would say most districts are like-minded in trying to keep costs down at the IU. We would just not have a voice at that table, on various, bureaucratic and operational decisions.
What is the role of this person there?
Very similar to what
like
they do
career
right
tech.
here. Yep.
Similar to like career tech as well.
I think probably a little more aligned of this type, situation.
And it's once a month?
I believe so.
It pays well.
I'll be glad to nominate you if you're thinking that hard about it, Michael.
I know, Kirk, if it
If
pays
I remember
well.
correctly, it's a super awkward time. It's like,
Yes.
8 in the morning?
It's like,
well, it's like on a Thursday or something. Like it's, I mean, I shouldn't say nearly all working people would not be able to manage that with any ease.
But this is, I mean, they do a lot of stuff for us, and it's an important kind of, it's an important conglomerate that we're part of, right?
so it is just a reminder. This is to nominate one of our board members to be then voted. So it's a two-step process.
So it's not necessarily
Not necessarily a guarantee. I would struggle to see that someone who was nominated by a district would not be accepted.
I mean, I have one of those flexible jobs where I could potentially do it. So, sure.
It's the fourth Thursday.
Good, I'll nominate him then.
And I second it.
Is there any discussion?
No, that was enough.
All in favor?
Carrie.
Aye.
Opposed?
Definitely not.
Congratulations, Dr. Lyman.
I feel like everybody just stepped one foot forward. That was left.
All right, moving on to item discussion agenda. There's a number of items that are on for discussion. I will go through them, and then if anybody wants to revert back to an item for any questions, we can do that at that time. 6A is Power School, Predictive Enrollment Analytics. Next is MOU of planning Item 6B is MOU planning minutes for PSSA regarding the Shippensburg Area Education Association planning minutes for the standardized test, the Pennsylvania State Standard Assessment. 6C, MOU planning memorandum of understanding, planning minutes for 2-hour delay days and 2-hour early release days. Administration will be recommending the approval of that attached MOU with the SAEA. 6D is another MOU, planning minutes for early release and in-service days. Administration recommends the approval. 6E, school stream online renewal. 6F, enhanced security cameras for the middle school. Comes at a cost of $176,285. 6G, job description for the school safety and transportation coordinator. Siemens access control devices at James Byrd Intermediate School, High School, and Administration Building. Are there any questions at this time or any discussion items for any discussion topic?
Yeah, Mr. August, can you explain B, C, and D? Is that in reference to the new contract?
So yes, there's been, with the new contract, there's been a change in planning minute requirements.
Okay.
So mid-year is tough, so we've worked with the association to try to smooth that over.
Okay. That's what I thought it was. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And thank you, association, I should say.
Anything else? Any items?
Can I just talk a little bit about the security camera enhancements?
Please do.
That, is a project that has been long in the making, that is part of the $450,000 safety and security grant that we were awarded in 2023-2024. It's taken us a very long time to get to this point, but we've been working very closely with Triangle Communications to really get the very best that we can to enhance the security camera system in this middle school, high school. So it is middle school only, and it's adding 37 additional interior and exterior cameras.
And then 6H, the Siemens access control devices. You're talking about the key, like the
Key fob,
badge?
yeah, badge swipes.
I thought we had all of them in place. Were we missing some again?
We are, yes. Yeah. So this is to add one at the administration building and then one at each building, James Byrd Intermediate and High School.
As the potential building projects take shape, are these things that will be added in that, at that time and part of, okay. Okay, the next section is citizen comments regarding non-agenda items. Please identify yourself by name, borough, township. All comments to the board as a whole, and all comments are to the board as a whole, and make sure they are in form of a statement. Questions will be taken under advisement. Responses to questions will be offered after due deliberation and will be provided by the superintendent at the direction of the board within a few days of the board meeting. You will be allowed 3 minutes for your comments. Comments relative to private student matters or personnel issues should be directed to the appropriate school authority outside of this meeting. The presiding officer reserves the right to interrupt or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Thank you for your cooperation. Is there any public comment for tonight?
Luann Burt, Shippensburg Borough. Just have to make a few statements. First of all, thank you for coming back. We appreciate your service. Secondly, to do with our computers, elementary computers are really in bad shape. I have to do a hard reset on mine 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes in the middle of a lesson. And that is happening often, as Troy can attest. I know Casey can, in the elementary schools. And if I remember correctly, wasn't it mentioned that if this is delayed, it'll cost like 35% more? Or was that referring just to Chromebooks? I'm just curious, because I really wish y'all would reconsider.
Yeah, the vendor did say it would go up. It wasn't, I know they're saying could go as high as 30%, yes.
But I want you to know, the elementary computers are really in bad shape, and we depend on them a lot for teaching, assessments, and everything else throughout the day. So please reconsider delaying that and costing more money.
Thank you, Ms. Burt.
Samuel Hudson, Shippensburg Borough. I wasn't originally planning on speaking tonight, but again, considering the progression of the meeting, I too would like to just make a comment that there are always unintended consequences, thus the reason for our 3 MOUs tonight, that there might be, aside from the 35%, other costs incurred by switching complete operating systems from Windows to a Macintosh computer. Some of those that I can think of off the top of my head would be training for the new devices with the staff who likely aren't familiar with it. A lot of people have PCs. And also the consideration that all things aren't created equal, and cheaper isn't always better. You might not get the longevity from it. Also, if you're talking about different model numbers, you might be comparing apples to oranges, really. Not all computing devices are the same, and you might be thinking of, it might be cheaper, but you're thinking about a device like a Chromebook rather than a device like a PC that the teaching staff needs. So I also would like you to possibly reconsider that, and also considering Robert's rules, a motion could be made to remove something from the table prior to the end of this meeting. I highly recommend you folks do that tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Any other public comment? Okay, moving on to board comments. I'm going to start on this side. Mr. Noggle.
None tonight.
None. Dr. Lyman.
I don't want to be a troublemaker. So I felt like we didn't really get an opportunity to kind of discuss why this was tabled, the computer thing. So it felt like we just did something and there was no explanation of why. I don't know what the Robert's Rules of Orders here is, but apparently I can make a motion, and I would love to make a motion to reconsider this.
It would have to be motioned off the table to then have discussion.
I would at least love to have some discussion because it seems odd to not explain that movement that we made earlier in the meeting. So I'd like to make a motion to untable this.
Remove from the table.
Remove from the table this this item.
Before, I mean, if you don't mind,
That's fine.
but before we get there, because I mean, the same issue. So, Kurt, I was just wondering if you could explain, like, I don't know. I mean, you said you had some information, maybe you heard from someone from another district or something that they were getting their computers cheaper.
Yeah, some of the other districts purchased some things in computer. I'd like us to take a closer look to see if we're getting the best bang for our buck.
Well, if I recall correct, I mean, Dr. Stevens, didn't you share with us several quotes for different things on this issue?
It was just
Or-
one
or was
quote.
that?
Could we take this off? I mean, I feel confident that if we take this off the table and have a discussion about why it needs to be tabled,
If somebody wants to take it off the table, take it off the table.
All right, well, we can go with the motion then, sorry.
so is there a second? There's a motion. to
I'll
ta-
second.
Second. Discussion. Discussion on taking it off the table.
Now you have
There's
to
no
put a vote
discussion.
through.
Okay. We'll do roll call.
Okay. Dr. Goetz,
Yes.
Dr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Noggle,
No.
Mr. Bard,
No.
Mr. Carey,
No.
Mr. Suiters,
No.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
No.
and Mr. Alosi.
Yes. The motion fails. Vote. Vote is 3 to 5.
Can I continue with my
You can
comments?
continue with your board comments, sir.
I guess I would just like to say that maybe in other people's board comments, we can get some kind of explanation as to why we've done this, because right now we've done this, and other than what Mr. Noggle was able to say, we don't really have a sense of why we're doing this. And if it is because there are cheaper options, and if it is because those options are potentially Apple products instead of Dell products, I would concur with what was said. There's some huge training issues with that. It's just, we're just putting a wrench in the works, and that's sort of getting in the way of teachers doing their jobs. And it's potentially costing us money. So this doesn't seem like a wise move today. That's my opinion. On a happier note, I would like to congratulate administrators and maintenance and whoever it was that dealt with a massive water leak, and we only were out in the borough, whoever made all of that happen, and where we only missed a half-ish day of school and still got students back in the buildings. So I appreciate whoever was involved with that. And that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Lyman. Mr. Carey?
I could tell Mr. Lyman that we could nominate Fred this evening for that CFO position if you. No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Suiters?
Nothing this morning.
Dr. Goetz?
I'm just, Kurt, it's sort of weird that, you hear a rumor that somebody else gets something cheaper, and then you're willing to risk us having to spend more money on the same product later. I mean, if who knows? And maybe we end up with the same thing, and we end up with the same dollar, so it doesn't cost us anything. If that's the case, then great, no problem. But man, if it ends up costing us more, I mean, I don't know. Again, no problem with taking a second look, but just, without giving us more information, is a little frustrating.
Well, part of the problem I have with what we're talking about now is every time we do something that somebody doesn't like, we always get called out for it at the end. I have been looking out for costs across the board on everything that I can find. This happens to be one that I think we can look at. And for me, if we get pushed into a lot of stuff, I'd just like to do a little more research on it. I'm not opposed to purchasing computers, but even the Chromebooks. I believe that there's a lot of problems with Chromebooks in students' education, and I've seen enough information that I believe that. So I'd be looking to bet some of that as well in the upcoming future. So
Well, the Chromebooks, I mean, seems a completely different issue. I mean, this is.
it is.
This
It is, but you know, just because I table something doesn't mean you kind of gotta. If you want an explanation, I just kind of gave you an explanation. I'd like to take a harder look at these, and you don't need to, you know, just ask in the comments. Hey, what do you got? What's the deal? So I was trying to kind of give an explanation when I tabled it, but I'm not. I don't do that often, so I'm not sure of the, you know, how that technically.
Well, that, I mean, that would have been the point. I mean, in my mind, that would have been the point of us having a discussion and then having a vote, right? And if you gave us information that led us all to believe that there was a good chance that a better deal could be had, then we would just vote no on the motion and ask Dr. Stevens to come with a new.
Well, we've.
vote. But like tabling just sort of ends the conversation, and we're all just kind of.
Right.
You know.
Well, getting better at that. We'll figure that out a little bit better, the process. But we have 2 weeks to figure it out, and then it can be brought back on the table. 2-week delay is not going to kill us.
Well, the quote is expired already, and I don't know if that, I don't know if Dr. Stevens just had like a verbal commitment that they would still honor this quote, but the quote is now expired, so who knows what it's going to have in the future, so. Anyway, that's it, I guess.
So just to kind of elaborate a little bit, I think as far as the process of having items, having a first, having a motion, having a second, and then discussion. I think allowing discussion to play out, and then after discussion is kind of finished, at that point, if there's still a desire to motion to table, then do that. But if we allow that opportunity for questions, getting answers, asking administration to clarify, I think that's helpful in understanding. And then if there's still a lack of information or there's something else that we can look into, and by all means, make a motion to table. But I think that was kind of cut off short, and maybe we can work together. We don't get together often. We don't sit around this table that often, so let's make the most use of it and utilize that time. But if something needs to be tabled, by all means, but I think we allow discussion to kind of happen and get flushed out. Moving on for board comments, Ms. Wolfinger.
Yeah, I'll just kind of, I guess, give my perspective on why I said yes to tabling it. And I asked several questions last meeting when it was on for discussion. And I guess I just look at something as a price tag of between Chromebooks and these teacher laptops of spending almost $1 million, because it was $700,000 for student Chromebooks, and it's a little over $200,000 for teacher laptops. I just want to see that we are getting more quotes than just one, and just, you know, copy paste to a vendor, because I do believe that there are deals to be found, and if there's not, there's not. But I just want to see that we're looking elsewhere and trying to find any dollars that we may be able to capture. We only had one vendor for the Chromebooks that we, invoice, and one vendor for these. And I just, my perspective, I want to see that we are looking elsewhere if there is potentially savings to be had. The other thing is that it's always an urgent issue. Every time, every single year, we are always as a board placed into this back against the wall when it comes to this particular item. And you can go back through the last 3 years, because I already did. Every time this item is on discussion, it is always an urgent need. Instead of us, maybe we reach out earlier to get the quotes, and then it's not this rush, and we're kind of back against the wall that we have to do it because we're gonna, pay more money if we don't do it. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe it's the timing I'm struggling with. I always feel like we are just pushed that we have to do it. So that's my explanation.
Mr. Bard, do you have any comments?
None tonight.
None tonight. Okay. To wrap things up, we have a date saver. March 23rd was the Budget and Finance Committee today. April 2nd, again, is a special meeting. Please come. Please be prepared to listen and learn and then ask questions or have comment. That begins at 6 o'clock p.m. on April 2nd. April 8th is the Buildings and Grounds Committee. March 25th is a 2-hour early dismissal. April 2nd is a 2-hour early dismissal. And April 3rd to 6th, the district is closed. Maybe I'm out of order here, but as far as my board comments, I think there's a lot of different people that make up a board, and we have the opportunity to come together twice a month, and that's essentially when we carry the weight of authority and of oversight of the district. So I think we do the best we can to make it as meaningful as possible so our students can benefit the most. It's an honor to serve with everybody here, and we just continue moving forward. So on March 9th, we had an executive session. Tonight, we're going to dismiss here, and we're going to go into executive session. We have personnel matters, along with contract negotiations and a real estate matter to discuss. With that, I can take a motion to conclude the meeting. I don't need to. Meeting adjourned.